Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Miss Neeti Sharma, who is the CEO of TeamLease Digital, which is a technology professional services company that specializes in providing staffing solutions, managed services, and project-based hiring for various industries. Hi, Neeti. Welcome to ELI.
Hi, Priyaranjan. Thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience a little bit and tell us about your whole journey with Team Lease. When was the time you joined the Team Lease, and what all transitions did you have inside the org, and what is your current role at Team Lease?
Sure, thanks. So I have been in the education, employability, and employment industry for the last 3 decades, slightly more than that. I joined TeamLease about 2000 in 2004 to manage the customer service role. We were a very small set of associate base that time because TeamLease had registered itself in 2002,
Hmm.
right? So right now we are a 22-year-old organization. I have been part of the company for 20 years now. Obviously, I've seen the journey, worn various hats through the last 2 decades, and a lot of youngsters today ask me saying, how can you stay with one company or one set of people for 2 decades? In my view, if the role is challenging, if you keep learning, every single day and whatever you do gives you excitement and satisfaction, there's no reason why you have to change the company for the sake of changing a company, right? So let me give you the team lead's perspective, and I'll give you a background of where I come from after that. So I'll go in the
Sure.
reverse order,
Yeah.
right? So like I said, 2 decades in team leads, started with the role of managing customer service for all the associate base, because when I joined, we only had staffing as a business. Thereon, team leads grew. We realized that a lot of people we were looking to hire were not employable. About
Hmm.
95% of them were actually not job ready. And that's when we got into the area of assessments and short-term learning. And I shifted gears and I took that as a role, set up the assessment and the short-term learning, vertical and the function under the umbrella of Team Lease. From there on, about a decade in the space of employability and education. Like you yourself indicated, I was part of the Team Lease EdTech team as well till about, a few months ago, where the idea was really that we not just provide learning so that a child becomes employable, but also probably give them some sort of skills so that they are learning on the go. They're learning continuously because today the change is happening so rapidly. I may be relevant today with my current sets. Tomorrow morning, I wake up and I'm not relevant. So how
Hmm.
do I keep upgrading myself? How do I ensure that I keep learning? And I also am relevant and agile to today's, job market. So I think that's really what our, focus was when we set up TeamLease EdTech. We of course partner with various universities that offer online degree programs and apprenticeship linked or work integrated, learning programs, and
Hmm.
that's what EdTech's, focus was. After that, like you said, since early this year, I have taken over as the CEO of TeamLease Digital, which primarily focuses on tech staffing, hiring, and upskilling and learning services to our customers. Our intent is really to be able to give job seekers the right job that the industry has, but also on the other hand, work with the industries to understand the kind of demand that is coming up, what kind of skills they need, so that we prepare the job seekers ahead of time. We also work with states, with policymakers. I mean, if GCCs are coming in India, what is the setup? What is the infrastructure they need? If non-tech companies are requiring tech talent, what are the kind of skills they need? What kind of talent pool they need? And of course, IT services and product companies continue to hire. So I think understanding the landscape, and that's really what TeamLease also does. We work very closely with policymakers, the demand side as well as the supply side, so that our demand supply matching and the ratios are far better, so that candidates or job seekers, especially first time job seekers, get the right job and have the right foot in the labor market, as against trying to figure out whether this will work for me or that will work for me. So that's what I have been doing in Team Lease. Prior to Team Lease, about 9 years, I worked with a learning company called Aptech Education.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my last role with them was managing international business, and I had a very unique opportunity of traveling to about 18, 19 countries.
Wow.
The role, gave me a lot of experience. Obviously, you learn about cultures, about people's behavior, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. Of course, all throughout giving experiences on selling, negotiation techniques, because what may work in Southeast Asia will not work in Europe or not work in South America, right? So, because the way people operate are very different, and what works in India definitely doesn't work in these countries. So, I
Right.
think that experience, in a way, gave me a lot of good base for doing what I'm doing right now. And just prior to that, started my career. So I would say my internship was with a very small company called Good Earth Organics, where I really learned, just corporate way of life. And
Mm-hmm.
then on, I moved to the Mittal Group of Builders, managing. That time we called it the EDP department. I think today's generation would not know what EDP is, but
Mm-hmm.
EDP is really electronic data processing or nothing but a computer department, for a real estate company. So in a way, started my career as a software developer, programmer, and transitioned into now doing what I'm doing. Obviously, every day, every role that we play has to have some sort of learnings, excitements, and I started the word with satisfaction and impact. I think for me, those are very important. As long as I'm able to generate impact with what I'm doing, I'll continue to do not just this one role, but many other roles, in the future that I will actually get.
Got it. Just curious to know one thing. So, when you joined TeamLease, it was basically a 2-year-old startup,
Yeah.
and it's not the same company that it is today. It was a small company,
Yeah.
and you already had experience of working as a software developer, and you had traveled 18, 19 countries. You worked with other more established companies. So, what made you to transition into a smaller company, a startup company? And I am sure you would have a feeling that this startup will go on to do big in future. And how did you make that transition? What made you to join TeamLease?
I think that's a good question, Priya Ranjan, because I think today almost every job seeker is open to getting into a startup, especially in Bangalore, where all of us are based out of. Bangalore is the tech startup capital of the country,
Hmm.
and candidates are okay saying, "Let me try my hand because I learned different things." 2 decades ago, joining a startup was not the norm, right? There were lots of eyebrows raised, lots of questions asked by my previous managers, my coaches, my mentors, and obviously family members, right? But what made me join Team Lease were two things, right? One is that I wanted to get out of my comfort zone of the work that I was doing, so that
Hmm.
I'm able to learn, different things. I'm able to work with different people, and the two, the aspect of connecting with people and enabling them to become employable and get them jobs, because we believe at Teamlease, and this obviously came in later, but if you realize, what we're doing is we're giving jobs to get to job seekers, first time job seekers, and we're changing not just their lives but their families lives, and their entire generation's lives, especially people who are getting into formal employment for the first time,
Hmm.
right? Or the first person getting into formal employment from their families. A lot changes. And because I have had the experience of working in my previous role or previous organization, in dealing with job seekers, dealing with candidates who are looking at skilling themselves and then getting into employment, I had that connect and I had that experience, and I thought, if we are able to make that impact of giving jobs to candidates, enabling them and showing them the opportunities India has, we'll be able to, I think, reach a good milestone. Obviously, when I joined TeamLease, none of us probably were even prepared for the growth that we saw over the last 2 decades. The industry ups and downs. Every 5, 6 years, we see the job markets go down and then again it goes up. How do you deal with those situations? How do we tell job seekers that, hey, right, it's right now, it's not enough number of jobs in one particular sector, but jobs are moving, skill sets are changing, so they have to also move, along with the changes. So I guess, yeah, I think the reason was very clear, saying A, I wanted to A, get out of my comfort zone, because I had done that for about 8, 9 years. I knew exactly how that movie worked, and said, let's go and change tracks and try something new. And I think it's paid off big time, because I have learned a lot in the last 2 decades.
So, Neeti, a lot of my listeners, they're already founders, they're running companies, and they reach out to me asking about leadership, like how do I lead people, because many of them are like very new to the startup. In fact, they jump out of college and start their own company, and they get funding, they hire people, but they don't know how to lead people. So that's
Correct.
probably the biggest challenge for any startup founder, because
Yeah.
they're very young, they don't know how to lead people, and many of times the people they have hired are much senior in experience and in age than the founder themselves. So, as a CEO, I know you have slowly moved through the layers of the corporate, and now you are at the topmost role of a CEO. Uh, what have you learned about leadership, and what can you tell to the new founders who are just starting out and trying to lead people?
I think the first thing I must commend is the number of, people coming out of college and wanting to become an entrepreneur. Because if you become an entrepreneur, you're not just creating a business for yourself, you're also generating jobs. So I think hats off to everyone who's actually had that, thought and taken that up as a challenge. And your question is very valid, Priya Ranjan, because when we start hiring people in our teams and our businesses, people come from all different walks of life with different experiences and different expectations. The most valuable lesson for me as a leader is that industries evolve. Every day is a new day. So you can't have the same yardstick for every decision that you make as a leader. Adaptability is very, very important. Remember, change is inevitable. But how do we deal with that change? How do we deal with the dynamics of our teams and businesses, by being agile, listening to our team members, because today, in today's world, one has to realize that it's not necessary that all decisions have to be made at the top, right? Decisions should be made, and not cannot, should be made in a collaborative manner. And that's really been my style as well. You enable team members to think, to discuss, to brainstorm, and maybe sometimes even argue on what is right and what's wrong. But the goal is only one goal for the business or the organization, and that's really what all of us have to work towards. I think the other thing that I would put on the table is that communication is very, very important. If we as leaders are open to communicating with our team members, have a very open door policy, be transparent, listen to concerns of the team members, involve them in conversations, uh, trust and collaboration. I think as leaders, then we in a way set ourselves saying, hey, here is a leader who's willing to listen to me, open to listening to my ideas, and is not stuck up to only what he or she is thinking is right or wrong. Of course, as entrepreneurs, as CEOs, we do believe that, hey, I've arrived, and now I can relax and everyone has to listen to me. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked in the past. It'll surely not work in today's environment. Given the kind of youth coming out of colleges and institutes, I think they're brimming with ideas. They're so tech, I would say digital native, right? I think we should have reverse internships for people who've been in the industry for years together, so that we can learn from these youngsters. But I think communication, open to ideas, collaboration, and as leaders, we have to set that as a way of, the work culture, rather than expect the employees to fall in line with what we believe is right.
So, another aspect I wanted to discuss was the role of AI. So, these days, a lot of starters, what they're doing is they're leveraging AI a lot in the process of recruitment mainly. So they have created AI avatars which can take interviews of people, and then there are AI algorithms which can scan through the CVs and find out the best candidate for a particular role. And then there is AI for constantly monitoring a new joinee to whether the joinee is performing well, should we keep him for long term or not. So can you tell us what all you have been seeing, because you are hiring for other companies as well, and recruitment is the main thing you do.
Correct.
What all things in AI have you seen, and how is AI helping and is going to help in future in recruitment? And because recruitment is a big aspect of any startup out there.
Correct.
So a lot of our listeners would be curious to know.
Yeah. So I think, like you rightly said, AI is helping and will continue to help probably match profiles to job descriptions. Because
Mm-hmm,
we're talking of a tech platform, right? To some extent, and at some point, Indian LLMs, because we're talking of the Indian scenario, not a global scenario, a lot of LLMs are not built in India right now, so they don't respond well to our behavior patterns and our environment and our ecosystem. And at some point, Indian LLMs will start getting populated, data sets will get made, right? So I think to some extent, some sort of behavioral analysis will also get done through AI. But what will not get done, and this is very unique to India and even the startup world, we have to realize that what's not going to get replaced by AI is this whole human interaction.
mm-hmm,
I can see you today, I can gauge the way you're responding, I can gauge whether you're giving me standard responses, reading out of somewhere, or you've actually had somebody else give you prompts and that's why you're replying. As against a technology platform saying, hey, you know what, this profile matches. We got them to do an assessment on, let's say, Java, development, and they did actually write the code well, right?
mm-hmm,
So I think all of that can be done. But what technology or AI today, and yesterday it was some other technology, today's AI, tomorrow it's going to be something else. What technology would not probably be able to do is to gauge behavior patterns, is to probably figure out fitment within
mm-hmm.
an organization, right? Your style of working, your alignment, and your goals have to actually align with the goals of the organization. Now,
Right.
those are things that technology, as much as we may use them, it will be enablers for recruiters to shortlist candidates. But I think the final selection will necessarily continue to be more face-to-face conversations. Your data, parts probably can be taken care of by AI.
Hmm.
And
Another.
maybe, sorry, I'll just add here, maybe AI may help shortlist the right set of candidates more efficiently and faster.
Got it.
That is actually even happening now.
Hmm. Another aspect of AI is that it is very fast replacing humans. So you have been seeing the layoffs that has happened in last 1 year. All the big IT companies, they have laid off people, and in fact recently Reliance also laid off about 11,000 people.
Yeah,
So uh, and we have been hearing that a lot of this is happening because of AI. Because of AI, like Chat GPT and everything, the work of 10 people is now maybe doable by 7 or 8 people. Uh,
correct.
so, what would you say about that? Is AI here to, replace jobs? And unemployment, the current state of unemployment, is it going to get solved in the long run, or how is it going to look like in future?
Yeah, I think very relevant for youngsters who are coming into the job market today. And this is a buzzword. But if you realize, we've heard this very often in the last decade that technology is going to replace human beings and they're going to take away jobs, right?
Hmm.
5 years ago, it was some other technology. Today, it's AI, and tomorrow, it's something else. If I will just give you an equivalent, technology, I think a decade ago we said IoT, and IoT is going to change the world. It did change the world, but it's become a consumer product right now. Today,
Mm.
IoT is in our homes. Every equipment that we're using, every technology, device we're using is IoT enabled. But it's not taken away jobs. It's actually created more jobs for people to figure out how do I connect devices, how do I connect network, how do I ensure it's safe, right? All those kind of things. So to your point, will AI take away jobs? AI will probably take away jobs that exist today, a part of those jobs. But
Mm-hmm.
AI will create more jobs. And we see this happening every few years that a technology tool will probably do more work which is redundant in nature, more entry level in nature. But the job profiles and the skill requirements keep changing. So
Mm.
today, people may not need, like you rightly gave an example, if let's say 10 software developers were writing a code, or a software developer was writing a code in 100 hours, he or she will complete writing a code in 10 hours using GPT,
Mm.
right? Or a couple of other AI tools. Okay. But what will happen to the balance 90 hours? Well, will that software developer get occupied? I think that will be in about writing data sets, LLMs, prompts,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the job roles and the definitions will change. More jobs will get created. I mean, what jobs exist today a decade ago didn't exist. Think about the e-commerce industry. We did not even realize how quickly this has multiplied in the last 5 years, right? And it's not just delivery or supply chain, we're also talking tech. All
Mm-hmm.
these are technology companies. Whether you talk about, retail, whether you talk about quick service restaurants, whether you talk about delivery, all of them, all e-commerce companies are tech first companies,
Right.
right? So things have changed. There'll be lots of new jobs that will continue to get created. Think about it in the tech world today. India has only about 50 data centers
Mm-hmm.
compared to about 5,000 in the US, right? India is also debating about creating, and just yesterday I was talking to some people in Delhi, and they were saying that organizations, because of the whole data security and the cyber security threats that we have, I mean, the more AI we use, obviously more data storages happen,
Mm.
right? Cloud storages happen. A lot of organizations are also exploring the option of coming back to physical data centers.
Right.
What does that mean? It would mean that we need those many people manning those centers, ensuring almost like managed services, right,
Mm.
for their end customers. Okay. So roles in data are only going to go up. Analytics. Each one of us as organizations are consumers of huge volume of data on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
Our own data as consumers gets used by another organizations,
Right.
right? So analytics, security, administration in data are going to only go up. Those kind of jobs are going to go up, right? Cybersecurity is again an area where number of jobs are going to only increasingly go up. And this will not be restricted only to services companies. This will be restricted to organizations like yours and mine, where we need our data protected, our
Mm-hmm.
network protected, right? So there'll be lots of new jobs that are getting created on the go. Okay, engineering, R&D. I mean, automobile industries are all focusing on AI, but to ensure safety of passengers and drivers.
Got it.
Yeah, so things will change definitely, and I think it's exciting the way AI is, getting used right now. But in our view and our experience, absolute number of jobs really don't go. The type of jobs change, and the skill sets keep evolving.
Mm. My final question to you, tell us what have you learned about entrepreneurship so far? Like, how would you define the term entrepreneur, or who is an entrepreneur?
I think, okay, let me frame it differently. One very important thing for an entrepreneur is capital,
Mm-hmm.
right? And frugality. So if I have a business idea, and again, like I'll repeat, Bangalore tech startup, I see a lot of entrepreneurs coming out of college, or maybe of having worked for 5, 6 years in the industry, saying, "Hey, you know what? I have a great product idea. I have a great app idea. Let me build it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great. So I think a product or an idea is very important for every entrepreneur. But I would define an entrepreneur who's probably thinking differently and not and what is the problem statement you're trying to resolve? Right? I think that's something as an entrepreneur one has to think about. If I'm trying to resolve a problem statement that is really impacting volumes in India, trust me, that company and that entrepreneur will be very successful. So that's one. That's first idea. The second idea is capital and capital frugality.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen in the last few years lots of money being, taken in from investors, raised capital, but then companies are still loss making, and that's where investors are not putting in the kind of money that they used to put in the startup world in India right now.
Hmm.
Right? So I think when you raise capital, it's not our money all the time. It's our money to be put in the business, and how do I best use it so that I give returns to my stakeholders
Mm-hmm.
is the other piece that I would call out good entrepreneurs against the ones who are trying to do everything, but then you realize that at some point I'm hitting a roadblock.
Right.
Correct. And the third is that you have to show momentum and scale for every business idea that you're actually trying to work on. Because impact is very, very important. Like I said, what's the problem statement you're trying to resolve, or you're trying to answer? What is the impact you're trying to make?
Right.
Correct. I think that those are things that I would leave. Of course, large organizations keep talking about, diversity. We talk about skills. We talk about changing environment. All of those things will be applicable to startups and entrepreneurs, right? But if I think couple of these principles they are bound to, they will surely success is going to be theirs.
Well, I think on this note, we will close the session. Thanks for joining us, Miss Neeti. It was a
Thanks,
pleasure to
Karan.
have you on our platform. And
Likewise. Great conversations. Thank you. Yeah. Bye bye.